part, we are going to do the middle 14. Why am I doing 14? Well, because I thought it would be funny if tomorrow's video was the top 22 movies of 2022. I just thought that would be a little fun. The middle 14. This is the movies where I was like, yeah, those are pretty good. Or either they were like pretty good or really good, but they just had a couple problems that were holding me back. And so these are just the movies that are the middle. They're watchable. They're really watchable, actually. The reason they're this low, though, is because they're mediocre. And that's how we kind of got there when yesterday's video, which was, we ended with The Monsters, where it just started getting like an enjoyable movies. They still weren't very good, though. And so that's where The Monsters came in. But we start out with, what are we on, guys? What are we on? That's just my question. I believe we are on, hold on a minute, right after The Monsters. We are on number 36. Number 36. That's right. We got 36 more movies to talk about in 2 more videos. With that said, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, comment down below your opinions, your ranking of every 2022 movie. What is your middle, just okay movies that released this year? And with that said, let's get this video rolling. And the first movie we are going to talk about is See How They Run. And originally, I would think that I would really love this movie. Minus the fact that I worked 12-hour day and I came home and I watched it and I almost fell asleep like 5 times. And so I really just could not get anything out of the experience. I feel like if I rewatched it right now when I'm not that tired, I feel like that it would be a completely different movie. I would give it a positive score, but because I was tired, I could not really get anything out of it. I don't really got much anything to say. It's just on this list because I put it in there because in a way it was an okay movie. It's just not even that memorable, as it's a movie I constantly forget what even happened, partly due to the fact that it was a drinking experience. Whatever. I gotta rewatch this one. I think if I rewatch this one, this would be much more memorable. But for right now, I don't really got much to say about See How They Run. Bullet Train, the new Brad Pitt movie. And when I first got out of the theater, I was like, that was kind of hard to get into. Like, one part, it was really good. The next part, it was, okay. Yeah, get on to the good partying. And that's kind of how this movie was. And then I worked one day and it snowed like really badly to where I only had to work for like 4 hours. So I came home and my parents were about to watch Bullet Train. So I was like, wait till I get a shower. We got freshly baked cookies. We got hot chocolate. We just relaxed and we rewatched Bullet Train. And for Bullet Train, I think it was just a really fun movie. It's got all these vibrant characters that are all performed really well. And I just could not see the brilliance what this was. I genuinely think that this has brilliant writing, because in the end they combine all these characters, and how did I not notice the villain's motive, the White Death? This all combines absolutely perfectly. That was so good, and such great writing here, combined with pretty decent action. Just a fun movie. Sure, it feels a little exhausting at times. It is a little too long, and it's got way too much stuff going on. I just thought this one on rewatch is just particularly a very, very enjoyable and very, very fun movie that I would say maybe it was just for the experience because it was cold outside, sat down and watched a movie with my family, or maybe it was just the fact that it just brilliant writing, cool action. It was a much better experience on rewatch, but in the theater, it just kind of a bit rough to get into. I think because now I knew what movie it was, I went in with those expectations, and I just came out really surprised. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it is definitely a fun one. 34, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, and by no means was I expecting to put this aside. Actually, throughout the first half hour, I was like, worst movie? Is it worse than Morbius? Yeah, because the animation sucks, the voice acting sucks, everything about this sucks. And then at the end, they got to throw in the little thing about brother love. And you know, I got a little brother. I kind of got the feels towards the end of this one, and I don't know why. Why would I get the feels towards a Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie? That is an excellent question. I don't know why. I just think that it handles it very nicely with some solid emotions. It throws them in. I was like, you know, at the end of that one was kind of cute. And it feels like they tried to make a coherent movie. When in any other Disney Plus movie, It doesn't feel like they tried to make a coherent movie. It just feels like they tried to make a movie for people to watch. And I can see people getting on this and watching this and being like, that's exactly what it is. But it feels like it has just a small, tiny purpose with the kind of emotions that it throws into, just being kind of like, no, it's a heartwarming movie. And it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. Sure, there was plenty of cringy moments. The animation, terrible. The voice acting, not good at all. I just think if they throw that emotions, it kind of gave me the feels. I don't know why. Maybe it was just the kind of experience where we were all sick and we just watched it. But it was good. It was a good movie. I'm telling you that. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Tragic Rules is a decent movie. Don't Worry, Darling is our next one. Don't Worry, Darling it's in a category that I describe as interesting. Because on one hand, the movie starts out on pretty interesting pace. It takes a while to get started, but then more creepy things happen. And Chris Pine, I thought, was very excellent as a villain. Chris Pine is always this actor that he's in a bunch of movies, and I'm like, he's not a good actor. He plays the same character. But then he got in here, and I can 100% say he's a good actor because he brings this character to life, and he's kind of creepy in a way. And there's always those intriguing moments where you're always intrigued. And then guess what? The movie keeps going. On and on. Okay. Can we get the reveals? No, nope. We're gonna do another one of these sequences. Okay. Are you done yet? Oh, we finally get the reveals. Well, it took you long enough because I'm a little bored. And so, that's something that happens a lot in movies. And with especially Megan, is until we get to the climax, it's just so slow and takes so long to get going to where I just kind of clock out and get bored. I'm like, just get over with. And it would have been completely different if the reveals of this were mind-blowing like I wanted it to be. They weren't at all. It wasn't mind-blowing at all. I just sat back and was like, that's what it is? Okay, cool. It's a movie that I watched with a fantastic cast and some creepy moments, but is that really it? I heard that Olivia Wilde was a fantastic director. Is this all I got from this? Okay. That's all I really felt about this. And it's really disappointing because I'm a big, massive fan of any thriller. I just could not get that much into this one. It was alright in a way. Like I said, the cast was phenomenal. Chris Pine was phenomenal. But as it just goes on, it just swindles down to get boring with not interesting reveals at all. 32nd place, we move on to Disney's one movie. Not Pixar, Disney's Strange World. And in a way, this movie was fun in a way. It's got that ironic enjoyment like Pinocchio had, where I'm watching with my brother and I'm sitting back and I'm enjoying myself watching them do this. But then I sit back and I think, what is Disney doing? They made movies like Wreck-It Ralph. They made movies like Tangled. They made movies that are just instant. Big Hero 6 is an example. They're just instant classics that are just absolutely perfect in every way. And then it seems like they ran out of ideas over the past couple times. Raya and the Last Dragon was plenty full of ideas, but it did have its problems. Then Encanto was like, musical family, that's an interesting idea. How do we execute it? We don't execute it at all. That's how we do it. And this one, it's like, got an interesting idea, but they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle the interesting idea to where the writing is absolutely god-awful in a way. In the end, there's a big twist where they're living on the back of a turtle. Not a single one of them care that they're living on the back of a giant creature, because of course not. That would just defy any rules of logic if they actually cared. I just don't know what the game plan was here for this movie. It had ironic enjoyment. It was enjoyable. The voice cast did a good job. It's just like, what is this movie for? If it just feels like it should have just been like an hour, like it should have just been a special. That's what it feels like. It's just a special, like Werewolf by Night and all that, where it's just thrown on Disney Plus for content. That's what it should have been, because it just doesn't really have a purpose. And like I said, I had fun with it. The voice cast was fine. But what was its purpose? The answer is, it does not have one. And that started out our 3-movie animation talk. Next up, 31st place, Minions: The Rise of Gru. And this is a movie that I was looking forward to because I've heard it was good, and the first Minions sucked. It's the worst Illumination movie. It's the worst Despicable Me movie. In a couple of weeks, I have a ranking where I'm going to rank Despicable Me, Hotel Transylvania, and Shrek all together. But the first Minions would be last place in that because it's so bad. So I had decent expectations for this, and for the most part, it's a fun animated kids movie that doesn't really care about being a decent movie. Yeah, that's right. The movie does not care about trying to form a decent movie, and that is disappointing in a way because it's fun. It's got its very fun moments, but it breaks a lot of continuity where Gru in his previous movies never mentioned this guy, but he's clearly a big staple to him in this movie, and I'm like, okay, that's unbelievable at all. And so it just feels like content that they made, and it was fun content. It made money. People went to go see it. Families had fun with it, and that's what they made it to be. And so it's a little less like Disney because Illumination doesn't have that great of a track record. Exactly what I kind of expected it to be, but it just kind of irks me when movies just don't really pay attention to any of the continuity and just kind of make a movie to throw out there for kids to watch. Especially with the Despicable Me franchise, that was a little disappointing. Topping out the 30s, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, and the last movie that is animated on this section, I believe there's a couple more movies that is animated that I will talk about in the video. Yeah, a couple more. But this is topping out the 30s, and so Hotel Transylvania was okay. It was just one of those movies that, like I just said with Despicable Me, or Minions as it grew, they just threw out on Disney Plus for more content. And that's fine, because it's a January movie. It was on Amazon Prime, who doesn't really have that big amount of movies on there. And so it was just a movie that was thrown on there. I watched it on another snow day, and it was fun. I had fun with it. The thing is, the big problem here is that we don't have Adam Sandler. And if the star of your franchise is missing from this one, you just replace it with some YouTuber, that's not gonna really work. But I don't really have that many thoughts because it was just a movie that was fun. I had fun with it. There's some emotions in the end that kind of worked. The only thought I really have about it is that they should have kept Adam Sandler, and that was a big mistake to hire someone else, because I had fun with it. It was just a decent movie that is kind of forgettable. It was the first movie I saw of the year, and it's just forgettable. I just had fun with it, and it was an enjoyable little movie. 29, next up, Werewolf by Night. And yes, I am including the Disney Plus Marvel specials because they're almost hours. And if we can include Diary of a Wimpy Kid, we gotta include this. But with Werewolf by Night, it does a lot of technical things right. The action, the gore, the creepiness, the uniqueness of Marvel is all there in a very, very, very unique way. And that way I just loved watching it, as I just had fun watching it the whole time. The action is very well stylized. It's got this creepy 1950s monster theme that was really good and really invested me while watching it. What happens when I turn it off? Is the movie supposed to stick with you? Yeah, it is. You're supposed to think about it the next day, and think about it the day after that, and think about it for a while. This one was just like, it was there. Okay, yeah, it was fun while watching it, but what's really next? It's got every technical thing right. Just with the 50-minute thing, it just kind of... With the 50-minute time on this film, it just kind of just smooths over. It's like a one and done thing that you sit down, you watch it, you're like, okay, cool. But in the end, it just kind of felt like a She-Hulk episode, like a really good She-Hulk episode, but like it doesn't even feel like a completed story. It just feels like it was shot out there. And I know I'm going to kind of contradict myself when I talk about the Guardians Holiday Special in tomorrow's video, but I just really feel like this one just blew over me. It did a lot of things right. It just never really stuck because it's only like 50 minutes. It's okay in that way. Beast is number 28, the Idris Elba movie that I own the movie, and it's sitting over there on that shelf. Not on that one, on that one over there that you guys can't see. But I just constantly forget that this is a movie. While watching it, I had fun with it. It did do some things wrong, but overall, a lion a crazy lion attacking Idris Elba. I'm always going to have some fun watching slasher flicks like that. And I did have a lot of fun watching this slasher flick, but it's just kind of forgettable. Very forgettable, and it's just kind of movie that's there. Like I said, very fun to watch. There's some very fun moments. It's just a cheesy movie. But Beast is just there for a movie that's just like, oh, cool, an Idris Elba lion attacking his family movie exists. That's all it is originally. Like, I can't even really remember my problems. All I remember is that lion attacking people. Kind of forgettable. It was a fun movie, nevertheless. 27, The Gray Man. The Russo brothers made a movie this year? I know, because that's kind of forgettable. It was just a movie that I had fun with. I got the book here. Let me show you guys the book. Sorry. Did not mean to bump into you guys there. I got the book. And I just finished reading it a couple days ago. Stay tuned for my second channel. Second channel shout out here. More ZMZ. Go give it a subscribe. The Gray Man is a movie. And it's a book. And in a couple of days I am going to verse them. And you will see who wins. But the book is just a unique story about this guy who's hunted by all these assassins. The movie, however, was just typical. Oh, bad guy wants good guy dead. Sends people to kill good guy. Good guy survives. It doesn't really have anything special there. And it would have stuck with me. It was like all the other Netflix movies that I saw this year, where it was really fun to watch because the action is smoking awesome. But this movie doesn't even have that good action. What did I do yesterday in the 355 video? Hey guys. You're welcome. I know. Guess probably got a headache from watching that. But, oh my gosh. I mean, that's kind of what the action was. It wasn't even well choreographed at all. And that really disappoints me because this is a movie by the Russo brothers. It's just got all the star talent. Obviously, Chris Evans, freaking amazing in this movie. But in the end, it's just like a mediocre action movie. Just like any other typical spy movie that you'll find if you just Google spy movies. That's what it is. It doesn't really have anything special besides Chris Evans in this one. And it's disappointing because it comes from the Russo brothers. And can I surprise you guys? Can I surprise you guys? Just a little surprise. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is next. And I know we've been talking about all these forgettable movies. This one's not forgettable because with Wakanda Forever, we get every single thing I wanted from this movie, which is find a way to make T'Challa's death in the MCU feel relevant and feel right. And that's exactly what they did, was they made his death absolutely perfect the way that it should have been. But war movies aren't necessarily my thing. So when we stray away from T'Challa died, all the emotions, Shuri's losing everything, who's going to be the new next Black Panther, everything that seems perfectly into the MCU, and it's an absolute perfect film in that way. When it gets onto the action and the whole thing with, you know, killers and war and stuff, it's just not that entertaining to me. War films aren't necessarily my thing. And so that's just a personal problem for me. I really should have loved it. I really wish I loved it. But that's just a me problem personally, because it fits all seamlessly into one bundle for a perfect movie in that way. But it just kind of gets boring for being like 2.5 hours. And a lot of it's just people flying everywhere in a war. It just kind of gets boring in that way. It's just not my movie. And we got an introduction to Ironheart, which makes me really excited for a series because she was amazing in that movie. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers is number 25, and we got 3 more movies to talk about in this video. Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, and thinking about it, it is kind of forgettable. I can barely remember what happened. What I do know is this is a very meta movie, absolutely hilarious, because we get Ugly Sonic, we get a lot of things that happened in the real world, and it's just absolutely hilarious, with just a compelling and fun story. The mystery is paced in an intriguing way to where I was like, this is kind of intriguing, and it obviously has that unique spin on things that just made me have fun with the movie. Obviously, the voice cast wasn't good. I really did not like the voice cast all that much, But it's just a very fun and very meta movie to where I sat back with it late at night and I just was laughing my head off. This movie was absolutely hilarious. Everyone else who was watching with me fell asleep during it. I had fun with the movie. It is a little forgettable because I can barely remember what happens in the plot. All I know is everything meta. It's just very funny that a Chip and Dale movie that is very meta and explores things that happened in the real world. I just really think that's a very funny comedic thing, and in a way that was just very fun. Number 24, Day Shift. Day Shift is a movie about Jamie Foxx hunting vampires, and it was alright. It was alright most of the time because it was basically just Jamie Foxx hunting vampires. Thing that caps this out though is the action is freaking amazing. It's got very great stylized action as people are just flying and like really, it's not like the shaky cam action. It's very stylized and just feels like a very fun movie that Netflix put out 3 movies like this were very good action. Okay, Netflix, you're stepping up your game, and that's very impressive that you can make movies like this with very great action, and it's really good. And the story wasn't all that memorable. The villain wasn't memorable. The cast was okay. But if you got great action for an action movie, that's just something I'm definitely going to have fun with. And the action in this one was absolutely phenomenal. And that's just what stands out. Stands out with these next, I believe, 2 more movies on this list. That's what stands out. Same with number 23, our next film that we're going to talk about, The Adam Project. This was a movie that had Ryan Reynolds, and it 100% should have been in my top 10 because it's got amazing cast. Ryan Reynolds, Mark Ruffalo. It's a movie about time travel, which handles that perfectly. There's excellent emotions that cohere to me, personally. There's excellent action. There's an excellent story. But it really just starts to fail and really just starts to dip in quality when we get to the villain. And so if it has a massive, absolutely perfect, and I mean this in the best way possible, this movie was perfect. But then you got this villain that's just like, guess what I want to do? Oh, you want to rule the world? Yeah! Why do you want to rule the world? Because the writers told me to. Okay, it very much takes from the movie to where we have to spend a whole act trying to fight the villain that's just not memorable. And should have just found a better way to handle that aspect. Because it really should have been in my top 10. Because it is absolutely perfect. It really is perfect. But it just does not know how to handle the villain situation. And that personally disappoints me. Yep, that was the final movie that we are going to talk about in today's video. 23, we will start off on number 22, my top 22 next. As you see, they're very much getting higher in quality. Anyways, stay tuned for that video tomorrow. I'm going to film it right now. Thank you guys for clicking on this one. Peace out.